What if you could take the pulse of an entire country, its stability, its priorities, its whole future, and just boil it all down to a single number? I know, it sounds almost impossible, right? But some pretty fascinating research suggests there's a formula that can do just that.
And we're not talking about complicated economic models or those crazy shifting opinion polls. Nope, this is about a single, kind of elegant piece of math that's designed to diagnose a nation's health. It's ambitious for sure, but some strategists are convinced they've cracked the code.
In a world that feels more and more complex, more unstable by the day, this formula is all about cutting through the noise. The goal is to give us a really objective look at how a country is doing, moving beyond the headlines and political talk to see where the money actually goes.
So, how in the world does this formula for everything actually work? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine that makes it run.
Okay, at its heart, this thing is a diagnostic tool. It's built to measure the systemic balance of a nation. And the magic number, the goal it's aiming for, is 5. If a country gets a score right around 5, it suggests that things are in a state of healthy equilibrium.
But to really get how we arrive at that final score, we've got to deconstruct the equation itself. So let's look at the different variables that make it all tick.
The formula looks like this: V plus R plus T plus Q plus M. Now, what's really fascinating here is how it simplifies things. The first 3 variables, V for population, R for resources, and T for time, they're all just set to a constant value of 1. The thinking is that, yeah, these things are important, but they're basically the fixed arena a country operates in. By neutralizing them, the formula can zoom right in on the choices a government makes, the 2 variables that really tell you what a nation's priorities are.
And that brings us to the real heart of this formula, this fundamental tension. On one side of the scale, you've got Q for quality of life. That's the percentage of the national budget spent directly on citizens. Healthcare, education, culture, you get it. But on the other side, you have M for mission. Now, this isn't just a percentage, it's a ratio. It measures how many times larger the spending on the state itself, things like defense and administration, is compared to the spending on its people. It's basically a direct face-off. Are you investing in your citizens, or are you investing in the system?
This is all pretty cool in theory, but how does it actually play out in the real world? Let's take this formula and apply it to a few different countries and see what it tells us. First up, let's look at Finland. Checking out their 2021 budget, we see something amazing, an almost perfect 50-50 split. 49% of the budget went to quality of life, with 51% going to the mission of just running the state. I mean, that is incredibly balanced. So, when we run those super balanced numbers through the formula, what do we get? Finland scores a 4.53. Just let that number sink in for a second. 4.53.
And remember, the ideal score is 5. So a 4.53, that is just exceptional. It perfectly illustrates a system in harmony, where the government and the society are both strong and they're working together, not fighting each other for resources.
Okay, now let's compare that to another Nordic country in the same year, Norway. Here the picture starts to change. The budget is 30% for quality of life and 70% for the mission. That's a pretty noticeable shift in priorities, right?
And that shift gives Norway a score of 5.63. So that's over the ideal 5, which points to a moderate imbalance. But according to the model, the system is still considered really stable and adaptive enough to handle this tilt towards system spending without any major stress. Now let's jump over to France, using its projected 2025 budget. The split here is 28% for quality of life and 72% for the mission. You can see it's getting even more skewed toward maintaining the system.
France's score comes in at 5.85. And according to this model, a score that's getting close to 6 is a big warning sign of systemic tension. And we kind of see this reflected in the real world. The source material actually connects this score to a pattern of frequent political reshuffles that are really just addressing symptoms instead of the deeper structural problems.
And finally, let's take a look at the projected 2026 budget for Russia. Here, the imbalance is, well, it's stark. Only 16% is set aside for quality of life, while a massive 84% is dedicated to the mission and the system itself.
This massive imbalance leads to a critically high score, 8.41. A number like that signifies a system where the overwhelming priority is maintaining control in the state apparatus, and it just far, far outweighs any investment in the actual well-being of its citizens.
So, when you look at all 4 countries together like this on the scorecard, the pattern is just undeniable. Watch what happens here. As the quality of life percentage drops, from Finland's Helgi 49% all the way down to Russia's 16%, the mission ratio just skyrockets, from just over 1 to 5.25. And that directly drives the final score, from Finland's harmonious 4.53 way up to Russia's critical 8.41. The relationship is crystal clear.
Okay, so we've seen the scores, but what are the general rules for reading them? What do these numbers really mean for a country's future?
This chart really visualizes that spectrum of stability in a powerful way. You can see that little step up from Finland's balance score to France's, and then that massive leap to Russia's score. The growing distance between these bars, well, it tells the whole story.
So here's the key takeaway. A score near 5, that's the sweet spot. That's harmony. But once you cross 6, you're entering a danger zone of instability, where politics starts to matter more than people. And with those really high scores, governments just get trapped in a cycle of constantly managing crises, instead of ever making real strategic progress.
And this brings us to the ultimate point here. What is the real cost when a nation's priorities become this unbalanced?
This quote from the source material really just says it all. A high score means the system is basically eating itself. All the energy and resources that should be creating a better future are instead just being used to hold the heavy existing structure together. Society gets tired, and instability just keeps growing.
In the end, this formula is a really powerful lens. It argues that a national budget isn't just some boring spreadsheet. It's a moral document. It's a clear statement of what and who a country truly values. And it leaves us with a pretty compelling question. If we applied this simple math to our own nations, what would the numbers reveal about our priorities?